Back once again with Mike and Mike's Off-Air Podcast. Mike Pesto hanging out with you.
And Mike O'Neill here as well, my friend. I know you've got something planned here, but...
I've got two somethings. One is not quite as big as the other, so I thought maybe I'd spring two things on you. But thanks for listening and, of course, watching on our YouTube channel. Always appreciate that.
Well, before you get rolling, I told you I was going to do one thing. Well, I'm not. Although I know...
That's what I love about these.
I know that
we go out of our way to not tell each other what we're doing, so even the one time you kind of gave me a heads up, you're flipping the script on me.
Never mind. But I have a feeling, in fact, I'm pretty certain I know your response on this.
Okay.
Recently, the governor, Gavin Newsom, signed AB 2927, which requires a semester-long personal finance education course to graduate. And can I just say, finally!
Now, we kind of did talk about this. I didn't know you were going to bring it up for the purposes of our little get-together today, but couldn't this have been wrapped up into what they used to call home ec years ago, which I don't think they do anymore? In fact, I don't recall when I went to high school they even did quote-unquote home ec. That was more of a 50s and 60s thing, and maybe even some of the 70s, but well before I got into high school.
Although it is called home economics, most of home ec that I remember was a lot of cooking and a lot of kitchen-y kind of things, not economics, which the name implies. But I don't know. It just makes sense to me because I know when I hit the ground running, I didn't know anything about savings. I didn't know anything about budgeting every cent every month. Thank you. Oh, I can't even think of his name.
Dave Ramsey.
Dave Ramsey.
I knew exactly where you were going with it.
The Ramsey man himself. Yeah, the $1,000, $1,000 emergency fund if you can, when you should. And I love the way Dave explains it. Sell everything you have, and get your 6-month emergency fund in. And anyway, the point is what a great idea. I mean, I think that all high school kids, especially college kids, because if they can give them a visa, if they can give college kids a visa, they should know how money works. And an interesting study in 2022 from EverFi found that high school juniors surveyed did not understand how credit card debt can quickly accumulate. But by God, give them a visa. How credit scores work or how to read a paycheck.
That's not that surprising. There are adults who don't know how credit card debt can pile up as quickly as it does. So the fact that kids don't get it, that doesn't surprise me in the least.
But I love the idea that they'll give them a running start by making it mandatory to at least have a basic understanding before they force a credit card in their hand. I mean,
One of the things that can contribute to their misunderstanding, though, is watching the national debt. So we as a nation can spend twice as much as what we bring in, and it's okay because we just increased something called the national debt. Why can't we have our own personal debt? No, credit card companies don't like that. They want that paid off over time. Federal government, not so much.
Yeah, well, let's borrow some more. Anyway, that's all I had. I had a feeling you should be on board because, good Lord, I mean, you joke about how many people actually know how to balance a checkbook, and I'm sad to say that that's a lost art for a lot of people.
Could that be one of the homework assignments? Because I'd love it if that got taken off my plate for a semester, and have my son have his job for one semester be to balance the checkbook, and I can grade it after every day that he does it and make sure that everything balances out correctly.
You did well and saved me 20 minutes. Thank you. I love it. Anyway, that's me for today.
All right, so I got a couple things. I'm going to save the last one. You and I have yet to have a quote-unquote argument over anything. I mean, we have different points of view on things. I'm going to save the potential argument conversation for last. I don't know if you heard the news. This broke yesterday, and I talked about it on the air this morning with one of the Dirt segments. Have you heard what has what had been announced as getting the sequel treatment?
What new movie's coming out?
Well, it's not a new movie, but it's a sequel. A franchise that is getting yet another sequel. July 1st, 2026. So not next year, but the year after that. 2 years from now.
That's a long way down the line. Gosh, I don't know if I probably don't know the one you're thinking of. I'm just glad that Twisters is going to be out in a week, and I'm all over that.
Yeah, that's obviously not the one because we're
No.
talking 2 years from now.
Or Despicable Me Part, we're up to
Four.
four now.
We're up to four, yeah.
But God, in 2 years? No. Well, I just had a thought. It's not the third instantiation of the God, my brain won't work. The 4th of July space movies.
Oh, Independence Day.
Yeah, we don't have
no,
oh.
no, it's not one of those. Although I can see you're thinking because it comes out July 1st.
It would
so.
make sort of sense.
Yeah.
That'd be about down the line. God. And although I love the genre, I hope it's not another Transformers movie.
No, they're actually making another one of those if it hasn't come out already, but it will be soon.
Be the same movie again. Gosh, no, I haven't heard.
Think of the movie Green, or the color green, and the location being a swamp. Big scary ogre.
Not.
Shrek 5, greenlit July 1st, 2026. Mike Myers is back.
Yeah.
Eddie Murphy is back. Cameron Diaz is back. Any others? Nowhere yet, but those three are definitely in for Shrek 5.
Well, I've had kids. What is it, the kids' marriage now?
I have no idea where they're going to take this, but you know what you can blame for this? I thought about this. My son and I talked about this after having seen Inside Out 2 in theaters last weekend, now up to $1.3 billion worldwide, the biggest movie of the year so far.
Well, I know that the voiceover stars all are very solvent and have lots of money, so they don't need, quote unquote, more money necessarily, but I mean, who wouldn't?
Yeah, and the studio obviously wants to make money as well. And here's the thing, for anyone that gets upset, and people will rip their clothes and have a fit over this because it's Hollywood proving once again there are no fresh ideas coming out of Hollywood. Guess what? Every time you go to a box office and you say, give me 4 tickets for Inside Out 2,
Yep.
you're telling Hollywood, give us more sequels. So I guarantee you, if this was something that the folks at DreamWorks, the ones behind all the Shrek movies, if they had this pitch, they had it sitting on their desk, they're thinking, another Shrek movie? I don't think so. They're looking at box office receipts for 4 weeks running now of Inside Out 2, thinking, well, I guess the world loves sequels. No matter how much they complain about them online, they still make money. Let's greenlight Shrek 5, and that's exactly what they did.
And I'm obviously ready for Independence Day 3, so.
So,
But no more Rockies.
So I want to ask you, with that in mind now, what do you think, even if it's just tongue-in-cheek, do you think Hollywood is going to greenlight now with the fact that they are sequel happy to the nth degrees? I mentioned 2 of them on the air while you kind of maybe formulate some thoughts. I can all but guarantee, now this is truthful, I did not think they were going to bring back Tony Stark as Iron Man. I thought they killed him off. It's done. Even with the multiverse, it's possible, but there's no way. I guarantee you now, because of this, they will find some way to bring back Robert Downey Jr. as Stark in another Iron Man movie or another Avengers movie. It's going to happen.
I have to say, he's one of my favorite characters. Of all of those characters, I love Iron Man, and I have from the beginning. But the way he was gone,
it's perfect.
he seemed really gone.
But with
and
the
a perfect bow
multiverse,
tied. I'm familiar with that.
That's. I mean, so there's ways to do it.
I know
they did it perfectly.
And he's so sarcastic. I mean, he could pull it off. He's such a good actor,
and that's what scares me a little bit is because the Avengers franchise kind of has fallen off in recent years. They haven't released a lot of movies. A lot of it has gone direct to Disney Plus. But I think because of that, they're going to go with what works.
Well,
Same like the Inside Out concept and everything else right now.
I don't think any of these actors or actresses want to do this anymore. But so do you think maybe another Twilight?
Wow. Yeah, can you see Robert Pattinson? I'm forgetting her name.
Kristen Stewart.
Kristen Stewart on the same set at the same time. Last I checked, they dated, and that relationship did not end all that well.
That didn't work out well. And
So maybe there's a way with green screens and everything else, you can actually have them film a movie, even a love scene, without either one of them actually being in the same place at the same time.
they're actors. I mean, they know how to do those things. It's just, I don't know. Where's that story going to go? I mean, that's the rhetorical question one. And
I guess they're kids.
well, they do have a kid who's
So-
growing like a weed because remember she was half vampire, half human.
So follow that storyline, if you will.
Really?
If you start
Jacob will die.
going down that avenue, there has to be more Hogwarts stories to tell, or at least something from that universe.
Well, they've already gone a bunch of different directions in that universe, but not with the title story. You mean something to include any or all of the original characters?
I can see them too as
And
well.
Potter.
Because they did, and I forget the name of the franchise. They did the prequels that had a young Dumbledore in it. And I never saw any of those, but I know that they actually took place before Harry Potter. Now, as those actors are a little older, I could see them getting to a point where you actually can do storylines involving their kids.
And even in the original timeline, the Malfoys creeped off at the end of the last movie.
Okay.
So there's something possible there. And holy crap, I mean, the way they kept bringing Voldemort back,
yeah.
he's the backiest. I mean, it could happen. I mean, but the only problem is there's no book to base it on. It would have to be something right out of like Star Wars. Okay, let's just make something new based on the old ones.
Yeah.
That's what it would be. And if I'm being honest, I'd be in. I'd go to check it out. If
would.
it were good, I'd go check it out because I have to admit they wrapped that up brilliantly. But it was one of those things where like, that was so great, and I'll never see another one ever. And I just was sad. But there's a franchise. God, let's think of it. Oh, please. Well, no, we can't. Bruce Willis is there won't be Die Hard
You can't.
11D7.
Okay, you better not. I'm saying you can't, but you better not ever touch that franchise.
The only thing they could do there would be to raise up his daughter, because she was kind of a toughie, but she wasn't a toughie on the level of John McClane. There was only one John McClane.
Yeah, and I never
the
saw the
indestructible
last
John
one,
McClane.
the Live Free and Die Hard. It was the fourth installment, I think it was. I never saw that one. I was fully invested in the first three.
Yeah.
But that one, I never got around to it, so maybe there's some type of subplot in there that could be extended beyond
Not really.
him. But
I think they took that out past its logical conclusion with the last movie.
The one that seems dreadfully obvious to me is, speaking of like the ultimate franchises, when do we find out who the next James Bond is going to be?
Oh my goodness.
We've been sitting on this one for a few years now, since I can't remember his name now. The one who played James Bond last, who I thought did a phenomenal job.
Indeed.
With the movies that he did, especially the first one he did. It was how I got introduced to the whole concept of parkour. The first opening sequence, as they're literally scaling up and down skyscrapers that are being built. And I found out after the fact that most, if not all of that, was not done with any CGI at all. It's just all parkour athletes
Yeah, no thanks.
who are able to do things like that.
That is athleticism that is beyond my ability, because I have horrible fear of heights. I mean, to the extent that if you put me on a walkway that had firm sides that I could hold, but the floor were glass, and it went down a half a mile, I would just lay down and cling to it. I wouldn't even be able to move. You'd have to drag me off.
The fetal position.
Oh, it would. I just get that way. I mean, my daughter and I did a wedding in a church in Porterville where you know how there's a choir loft in a lot of churches?
Yeah.
Well, this choir loft was about from the back of the wall to the, whoa, and now you're falling into the pews, was about was about maybe 2.5, 3 feet.
Not enough.
It was tiny, and I'm standing the whole time. The whole time, I had to play music from up there for the wedding. And I was just the whole time breathing it out, and my daughter kept looking at me like, "Oh, very much so." My daughter was looking at me like, "Are you going to die?" And I'm like, "Maybe, it could happen."
Here's the autoplay button, just in case I do.
Yeah, but I got through it. But that was tough for me. Yeah, that's a good franchise. God, what's another one? You know what though? If it was well done, I'd see another Bond.
Well, and there will be. This is ending, and it was Daniel Craig was the name of the actor who was the last to play it. It's going to happen. There have been tons of rumors, but this is the longest time I remember them going without any announcement of who's going to play James Bond. Because usually they make the announcement, and then it's still another year or so until a movie comes out.
Transformers would be another one. The way they end them with the ability to keep going. They do that very much on purpose. I believe that.
Yeah, I think the new one is it's a prequel. It's how the Transformers became the Transformers, like before they could transform into vehicles.
Really?
Yeah, so that's how far back they're going. So before they came to Earth, sort of thing, when they were in Transformeriopia. I don't follow that.
I'm trying to remember the name of the planet.
I can't. Galaxy I
know it, but I can't think of it. No, it's a planet.
Okay,
and it's like won't come to me. But yeah, the one thing I remember about those movies is if you're in a theater and you have to use the restroom, don't dare leave, even if you're gone for 3 minutes. Those movies go so fast. You come back, you're like, where the heck are we? What? They just scream along.
Go ahead of time or wear your Depends.
Yeah.
One or the other.
God, what would be another good... Well, I already said my favorite. Please, God, don't make another Rocky. I don't know.
Yeah, they did the Creed trilogy. Or was it a trilogy? Yeah, they did 3 Creed movies, and the third one, based on the success or lack thereof of the third one, I don't see them going anywhere further with that.
That'll be fine.
And that was the only way to really take that off. And unless you do an Ivan Drago now take on it and you follow his storyline. But he was in, I want to say, the second Creed movie.
And we don't need any more Friday the 13th.
But we'll get them.
Or Freddy Krueger's.
Or Aliens or Predators or Predators versus Aliens.
I was going to Predator
those
next.
Those are all going to happen. It's just a matter of time.
I can't make that noise. I wish I could. That's such a cool noise. I knew somebody that could nail that. I'm like, what? Are you the devil? What are you?
You're channeling something I don't want to know about.
It was just a scary sound.
So... think about that. Anyone that you can think of, especially if you're watching on YouTube, comment, please do, about any franchises you either one would love to see them pick back up or one they better never, ever touch.
And we don't need Rocky anything ever again.
So here's the thing I thought we might end up disagreeing a little bit on. We're talking about this earlier with Ray from our promotions department. The burger. Now, apparently that was birthed in the Midwest, and I hate even knowing that, in a state right next to where I grew up, Illinois, in Missouri. Apparently now, and this is all the rage, peanut butter cheeseburgers.
I'm not going to fight you on that. I would never get a peanut butter cheeseburger.
But here's the thing where you might. In my humble opinion, you could have that sandwich if you want. Because it is a sandwich, a piece of bread with stuff in the middle, piece of bread. By definition, hamburger is a sandwich. So you can have that sandwich in the privacy of your home. I would recommend not having it in front of your kids, your wife, your husband, whoever it is that means anything to you. If you want to have it all by yourself, all by your lonesome, that's fine. But do not eat any ungodly combination of food in public. I would put in that category putting ketchup on eggs. Don't do it. Stop. We all as a staff were blessed to be taken out to lunch the other day. I'm not going to mention any names, but there are people in this building that got their eggs and then asked for someone to pass the ketchup.
Yeah.
And they put ketchup on their eggs. I'll forgive hash browns because hash browns are basically French fries and you put ketchup on French fries. Do not put ketchup on your eggs. Not in public, at least. Please.
Yeah. I'm not a ketchup on eggs person either. I've seen it.
Okay, good. Okay.
And I also feel the same way about steak sauce.
Oh, yes.
Now, well, here's the thing. I mean, there are some. There have been, especially lately, with the Kinders and some of these other companies that are out there. There are actually probably some that are halfway decent, at least good barbecue sauces, anyway. But for the love of God, if you come to my house and you put A1 on anything, including the floor, you're out.
Do you even
Straight
have
out.
A1 at your house?
No, if I wanted to make ketchupy vinegar, I'd do it as a home project.
So if someone was invited to a barbecue at your house and they asked for the A1, obviously you could say, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I don't have any." "Oh, that's fine. I had a feeling you might not. I brought my own," and plopped it down on the table. Your reaction would be,
And what are
the
you
door?
going to be having for dinner? Because that's out of here. That's beef abuse. That's the worst. I mean, whatever you put on your steak, whatever you put on your prime rib, it's supposed to accent it, not color it to the point of lack of recognition or destroy it, which that does.
if it's a steak that is such a bad cut and bad quality, and you sample it first, because there's an exception for every rule, then okay. Then A1 serves a purpose if it's such a bad cut and preparation of a steak. But I used to work at Crawdaddy's, and their steaks are phenomenal.
Very good.
Cooked perfectly. You don't have to. The only thing that you need to add to them is a fork and a knife.
Yeah, your fork.
That's it. I have served steaks to people, and they ask for the A1. And my knee-jerk reaction is, don't give it to them. But I'm like, the customer's always right. Okay. Besides, maybe they'll try it first, and then after they try it, realize, I don't need this, without even trying it. It's just like gravy over the top of the steak.
It's and I'm from the East Coast, so I can take shots. It seems like an East Coast thing because when my wife's sister's family came back, I was like, I'm going to spoil them. I'm going to make a really great tri-tip for these guys. And then I thought about it. Well, let me tell you what happened first, and then I'll recap it. Her son tried it and literally spit it out because he didn't recognize it as steak.
Oh.
Think about what a lot of East Coasters think is steak on a Philly cheesesteak.
Oh, yeah. It's got to be covered.
Thin, very thin slices of almost flavorless beef coated in 1,000 other things. You know, all kinds of vegetables and cheese and blah, 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 blah. This kid wouldn't know steak if it hit him in the head. And so at first I was really offended, but then my wife, that's why she's my wife, explained it to me in terms I could understand. I was like, okay, I won't kill him today. I understand what you're saying. You're right. He doesn't have a frame of reference on it. But yeah, I mean, if you're going to buy in a restaurant a $15 to $20 piece of meat, why would you pour vinegary ketchup on it?
I don't know. The same reason I've said before, and I will say again, once you hit the age of 13, you better not be putting ketchup on your hot dog. And if you do, there better also be relish, mustard, onion, celery, salt. So that can be one of many things on your hot dog. But if all you ask for is ketchup, you better be 12 or younger.
Yeah, I've graduated. I used to do a lot of ketchup, but I've graduated to I almost always want a chili dog.
Okay. Nothing wrong with that at all.
Just better ketchup, if you will. I mean, way better. Give me a good chili dog. And my son's the same way. If you just even mention chili dog, he's like, can we go to Taylor's? Can we go right now?
Yes.
Yes, we can. We always can go to Taylor's. But yeah, I guess I kind of agree with you now. I used to fight that. I'm more of a mustard guy now.
Okay.
Just a little bit of mustard. Sean will pulverize. My special adult son will pulverize his Costco dog to the point of I don't know how you're not going to have ketchup and mustard from your elbows down and on your shirt.
That's the best.
After you wrestle this thing. You're just and anyway, but those are pretty good dogs.
Yeah, growing up just outside Chicago, there are hot dog stands almost literally in some neighborhoods on every other corner, and it's the pickle spear, and it's the sliced tomatoes,
Yeah.
and the freshly cut onions, and it's the one trick I learned years ago, and I think I've mentioned this before, is celery salt. Just a little bit of celery salt. We have celery salt in our pantry. It's the only reason we have celery salt. It's just a little bit on a hot dog. It helps bring out the flavor.
And you can smell those stands half a block away.
Yes.
It's like when you come out around here, you see some of that, like they'll sell those outside the fair. You'll see them outside
Yes.
a concert.
Yes,
you
yes,
walk
yes.
outside of the Fox, boom.
Oh,
Hot dog guy is here. Do we have cash? Tell me
grilled
we have
onions.
cash. Tell me
Oh.
we have cash because I know he's not taking my Apple Pay. I hope we got some cash. You better have $5. Give me $5. And yeah, it just permeates everything.
Now, it hasn't gotten to the point for me yet that I've actually said something to someone at a restaurant like, can you lay off with the A1? Can you not put the ketchup on the eggs? As I'm getting older, I'm becoming more and more like my father. But my father, before he passed, had no filter whatsoever. It went right from brain thought to mouth. I'm this close with some things to getting there. So
Yeah.
I'll apologize now if I see you at a restaurant putting ketchup on your eggs. Yes, I might just be the one that says something, and you might be the first person I say something to about it.
Nice. And one last one I'll toss in.
Yeah.
I'm not a sweet with meat guy. And I know a lot of
Okay.
people love to pile pineapple 10 feet tall on their pizza. Don't you dare do that to me. And or ham and applesauce. They don't belong together ever. But a lot of people eat them. I can't eat sweet with any kind of meat
Really?
at all.
Okay.
I just can't do it. It's
So in a Hawaiian, a lot of the Hawaiian way that things are prepared is with a lot of papaya, a little
Yeah.
bit of pineapple. See,
It's the way I'm raised. It was the way I was raised,
I
obviously.
love Hawaiian style.
So does my
pizza
wife.
with
So
the
does my
Canadian
wife.
bacon and the pineapple. So that combination, I will say again, I will enjoy in the privacy of my own home, so as not to disturb anyone else. But please, for anyone else, please give us the same courtesy.
Amen.